Hi there, this is the weekly forecast for the week of January 20th through 26th of 2019. And this week kicks off with a pretty big start because there is a total lunar eclipse in Leo happening. And this is the final eclipse across the Aquarius-Leo axis that's been taking place for the past year and a half in our sky. It's finally wrapping up with this full moon. So you can think to your chart what houses Leo and Aquarius are highlighting, because those themes will be drawn to a close and culminating on the 20th. The moon in Cancer will be opposite Pluto and square Uranus, so it's a particularly energized yet dark feeling that's coming up. There is the chance to be triggered, and therefore we may feel as if we are being manipulated or thrown around by outside circumstances that are triggering us. And the fact that Mercury will also be conjunct the South Node on this eclipse demonstrates the possibility of going back to old thought patterns or reverting back to ways of thinking about dealing with these issues that may be deeply ingrained in you, that you fall back on and aren't necessarily the most empowering. They could be kind of self-deprecating with that Mercury in Capricorn on the South Node. So this is a good time to see what your automatic reactions are and observe them, because there's a lot of energy that's causing reaction here, and a good way to use this is to just observe it, don't necessarily act upon it. Eclipses are times of heightened energy that isn't necessarily the most rational, and this Moon, Sun, Mercury configuration will have an out-of-sign T-square to Uranus and Aries as well. And this, because it's a T-square, so there's an opposition and then a square right there, the missing link then that's not being highlighted is the sign of Libra, because this is happening in the cardinal signs, but it's right on the cusp, so it's confusing in this lunation. It's happening right on the cardinal signs, and the missing sign is Libra. So there's a lot of focus on the I here with Aries, and with Leo and Capricorn, there's a lot of self-focused thinking of what's happening to us. And maybe if we open our eyes and think about what's happening to the people around us and how to consider them in this, we can gain perspective and not feel like we're being thrown around quite as much, and gain some calm, because this lunation is not calm. There's a lot of both rebellion and pullback. And with the South Node, there's an element of shedding skin, because this total lunar eclipse represents total illumination, and the South Node represents shedding skin in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, and Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, which are the two signs this is happening right on the edge of. This relates to what do you need to shed that's long overdue for you to make the most of your time in the future. So what old patterns are you holding on to that no longer serve you? What old ways of thought are just dragging you down and wasting your time, when in fact you could be using your time more efficiently, more proactively, more in alignment with you. With Venus square Neptune also on this day, there's the chance of having a Pollyanna attitude toward it all, thinking, oh, it'll be fine, you know, I have a gut feeling that there's something wrong here with the way I'm dealing with situations that are reoccurring for me, but it's all right, I'm just going to shove it under the rug. So don't fall victim to thinking it's not as big of a deal as it is, because even if you're taking a more observation-based role and not reacting, that doesn't mean that even the smallest things that come up can't show you how your reactions aren't necessarily the most appropriate or the most efficient for the situations that you keep facing. Monday the 21st, we have a Mars square Saturn again, and this has been reoccurring recently in the sky, and this is an aspect of kind of ramming your head against a wall and stewing frustration that's being both really momentously pushed forward and totally craned in, and just, it's a pressure cooker. I've heard that said by so many astrologers, but it really is the truth for this aspect, because Mars is forward motion and Saturn is limitation, and they're both hot, dry forces. There's the risk on this day of keeping your frustration in, being passive-aggressive, not being forthcoming, and therefore letting your anger stew up, and then as a result burst out in a way that isn't productive. So release your anger gently, and don't keep things bottled up. This is a good transit for getting to the bottom of things, or really getting done what needs to get done. But don't confine your anger, because it will manifest in a way that's more unhealthy than if you were to simply verbalize it in the moment. And helping this out, there is a grand fire trine. So the moon in Leo will be trining Jupiter and Venus in Sagittarius, trining Uranus and Aries. So this grand fire trine, which represents action, is helping us out here. There is just that Mars square Saturn that makes us feel a bit trapped, but trust that that energetic pull you have is the right thing. Don't make yourself small during this time. Tuesday the 22nd is a really great day because Venus will be conjunct Jupiter, and these are the two benefics in the sky in the sign of Jupiter's home of Sagittarius. So this is a really exciting day of ease, and helping this out, the Leo moon will be trine Uranus, just bringing more excitement and more optimistic energy to this day. There will be a Mercury square Uranus though, so we might be mentally overstimulated by all the flashy things and good feelings we're having that day. My advice is just to breathe, because I don't know if necessarily there can be too much of a good thing in my opinion, if it's a good thing, but the effects of having a lot of a good thing, we might not make the best choices as a result. So if you're indulging, don't overindulge, watch your watch, watch your wallet. Really awesome day, but just keep it grounded. Then on Wednesday the 22nd, the Mercury-Uranus square continues, so our brains might really turn into fireworks, and there could just feel like there's so much buzzing and triggering us from the outside that we have to verbalize and get out. This is an aspect that could bring a lot of intellectual combat. You could just feel as if you need to respond to everything and throw your, I don't even know if it's 10 cents or 2 cents, whatever the saying is. You could just feel like you need to respond to everything because there's this energy that has to get out. But thankfully, Mercury will then quickly move into Aquarius on Wednesday as well, which brings our ideas to still a Saturn-ruled sign, but one of more progressive forward thinking. It's an air sign, so Mercury is more able to signify its intellectual freedom and not feel as if it is as confined as it might be in Capricorn. The moon will be in Virgo, and it will be opposite Neptune and trine Saturn, and moon opposite Neptune can be a big fantasy aspect. It can bring a lot of delusions that we kind of know are delusions, but we don't want to stop buying into them. But the trine to Saturn really encourages us to come to terms with what our fantasies are and see how we can change them into realistic ideas rather than pursuing something at our detriment that'll just lead in disappointment. It's an aspect of both release and of feeling trapped, depending on how you use coming to terms with ideas or situations which are no longer working with you because you are realizing the reality of them. Thursday the 24th, the moon still in Virgo will trine Pluto, and this is a really good aspect to get to the bottom of things. There's an investigative quality to Pluto, and when the moon is configured, we can feel open to investigating our emotional patterns or our feelings, and then the moon will also oppose Chiron as it moves into the later degrees of Virgo, so we feel open to exploring deep-seated feelings we have. But then when it opposes Chiron, we can kind of realize maybe we've gotten too far over our heads and that we have a lot more internal work to do than we realize, and that can be really overwhelming and discouraging. But there is the chance there of reconciling feeling vulnerable with this curiosity to go there anyway and get to the bottom of whatever issues we're having right now. Friday the 25th, Mars in Aries will trine Jupiter in Sagittarius. And this is exciting because both Mars and Jupiter are in signs that they rule. They're at home and they're speaking in supreme harmony. They're very comfortable in the positions that they are and in the significations of the alignment that they're in. So this is a day where maybe take the risk. Say the things you really want to say that you might not have the guts to normally. There is a Libra moon square Saturn, so there is still a voice telling us that maybe we're not good enough or that we need to be careful about the way that we are putting ourselves into the world, and there is an internal voice telling us to really be careful and be cautious already. So the Mars trine Jupiter, I would trust those feelings of excitement and of wanting to go places, because there is a voice that day that is going to be telling you to be cautious. So go for the thing, follow where your excitement is telling you to go. Finally, on Saturday, the Libra moon will be opposite to Uranus in Aries and squaring Pluto in Capricorn. And moon opposite Uranus by itself is really an aspect of emotional restlessness. It can feel like there's this nagging need to change or not sit with feelings, and then you're constantly being bombarded by emotional instability. And squared to Pluto, this darkens it and deepens it, so we can feel overwhelmed by how uncomfortable we're feeling that day. But again, with these Pluto aspects, there is a curiosity that you can take advantage of to get to the bottom of things and maybe not act upon your triggers as much as sit with them until they make sense as to why you feel so strongly reacting to certain things. So this week makes me think of just being constantly triggered with all these Uranus to the moon aspects and the eclipse and all. It's a very electric week for better or for worse. So you can expect a lot of excitement and energy and not the most rest or softness in this particular week. So I hope this was helpful. I do private consultations at the link below. Like, subscribe, and I will see you soon.